All right, so I'm up here, the Hill of Tara. Specifically, this is the Stone of Destiny. Pretty cool name. So all over, there's all these different sites, different hills, some burial grounds, and there's even way more underground. They found, I think it was like another like 30 to 50 underground, something like that. And something that's just kind of been coming up for me a lot these past couple days being here, where a majority of my ancestry and DNA is all from, is how much, we as men deeply need that connection to our ancestors, our connection to that ancestral ways of life, to the lands we come from. And I really think that's like one of the core things that has really troubled kind of the development of masculinity in the West, because a majority of Europeans, or those that come from European descent, have really been cut off from that. And you see the revival with the Native American traditions and the revival of the Mexica and the other people from the North American, Central American continent. There's been that revival of that masculine connection to the land and the ancestry. And I was reflecting on how, I've never really been super attracted to these men's groups, really. Like the ones in the U.S. Like it just, I went to them and I was like in my early 20s. I was like, man, this isn't it. Like something's missing here. And so the more I've connected to the ancestral ways of life, even from those that don't come from my specific heritage, like the Red Road or the different plant medicine traditions of Mexico, it begins to awaken this like memory, this ancestral memory in the blood, in the bones, that begins to slowly shift your consciousness and bring you into alignment with that lineage from where you do come from. And it's been really helpful for me to be around other men that come from those traditions where they are connected to their ways of life, because you begin to see little nuances from what's missing in this Western American culture. But I was reflecting on this as I was walking up the hill. It's something that I wanted to share with you guys because it's really relevant right now, being in the springtime. We just had the spring equinox. We're moving into the season of spring. It's all this new life. It relates to the element of fire. So there's the light of the sun that is being absorbed by nature through the plants, the animals, the stones. That's that element of fire in one of its forms, and it's creating this pranic flow, this explosion, this increase of life force. And you begin to see it. Animals begin mating, having babies. Plants begin to start sprouting. Flowers start blooming. So you literally see the influence of the sun and that element of fire within the life force beginning to emerge. And it's really important, I feel, for men to begin to connect with their own ancestral lineage. Because if you look at how lineage is carried forward, you have the womb and the creative force and the nurturement of the woman and the feminine force, but it requires the seed of the masculine force to impregnate and make that become, that union become possible, where the two opposites meet and new life is formed. And if you look at how in nature, specifically more in agricultural communities, they're always taking the best seed and saving it for the next season. And so as men, we carry this seed within us in our semen. And that is the amalgamation of this life force that is generated within us as men, which comes from the foods we eat, the impressions from the world, the light of the sun, the waters that are helping that life force transmute into a fluid that then can go and do what it needs to do with the egg and and create an embryo inside of the woman. So we as men, we have all of these elemental forces working within us to help carry that seed forward for the procreation of life. And the more as men we can connect to that ancestral lineage that we come from, the more we can connect to the seeds of our fathers from that lineage from where we come from, it begins to align us not only with ourselves, our families, our traditions, our ancestral ways of life, but also with that masculine force. And so the more we as men can align with that true sacredness of masculinity, the more that we can reject these modern, watered-down forms of masculinity and these toxic patriarchal ideas, the more we can begin to express that pure masculine energy as a protector, as one who brings structure and helps forge the path forward for us, for families, for our societies, for our communities. And we begin to become more into a natural harmony and balance with nature, with life. So here I am at the Stone of Destiny, making some offerings, reconnecting with the lands of my people. I'll show you guys. It's a beautiful scene here. So here we are. We are at the Hill of Tara. It's a cold, rainy day out. The wind is alive. It's speaking. The crows there's probably about 2-3 dozen crow's nests in those trees over there by the church. They're chirping away, and I decided to go over and say hello to those birds first, and to those trees. Some of the guardians here, say hello, introduce myself as my friends and teachers and mentors have all guided me to over the years. And as soon as I started talking to them and I left a little offering, they all became silent. And I think that really goes to speak of the more consciousness and awareness we bring into our relationship with nature, to the land, to the animals, to the elemental spirits, to the ancestral spirits of this land, the more we begin living in a reciprocal and symbiotic relationship to where things start speaking back to us. When we put our attention on them and we speak to them, they speak back to us. So I hope you guys can all make it out here one day. I've absolutely enjoyed my time here. It's so cool. You should really come feel the vibe of that stone. So that's what I wanted to say. For those of you who are men that are watching this, and even the women that are watching this, I just want to encourage you to reconnect to that ancestral way of life. And don't judge how you come to that point, because it may, for you, like it did for me, start with you being attracted to other ancestral cultures and traditions. You know, I started working with plant medicine when I was 18. I went to my first sweat lodge when I was like 21, 22, and started following the Red Road and the Mexica and the Red Road traditions of Mexico. And so that's just what the journey was for me and how I got there and how I returned home nearly 13, 15 years later. And you never know where that journey is going to take you, because the traditions that you start out, they might just be preparing you to reconnect with your own ancestral ways. And I personally feel and think that the way forward for humanity is going to be the complete unity of the medicine wheel, the rainbow tribe, and that all of these ways of life are going to amalgamate together So I hope to see more sweat lodges here, more ceremonies here in the lands of Ireland, in the British Isles, Wales, Scotland. Man, God knows they need the warmth here, to say the least. But I really just think that's going to be like this natural way that humanity begins to become more unified, the way that we start to see each other as brothers and sisters and not, separate by uh, governmental identities and all that stuff. So trust that process, trust that your ancestors are having your back, are looking out for you, and go for where you feel called. Because I promise you, if you are on that right path, and if the fire in your heart is alive and lit and burning, it will lead you home and will lead you to where you need to be. So where you can connect and honor and carry on that lineage that you come from. I carry other lineages, both spiritually speaking, teachings from these different lineages that I've spent over 15 years working in, and also other blood lineages. I have ancestors that come from the Nordic people. I have ancestors that come from Scotland, from Wales, predominantly Celtic and Gaelic descent. But there's other things out there. And I think that's one of the beauties of being alive and a human in this day and age, is that we are so mixed as a human race that all of this is of our own heritage. This is the seeds in the vocabulary of our story that, like my bro Rudy says, has not been told yet. So trust that process. Bring gifts to these places. That's something that has been kind of a core thing that I've been holding, as always bringing a gift and making an offering, to the land, to the spirits, before you receive something else. And I'm thankful for my friends and mentors and teachers that I get to be around, that embody that way of life and do that. And then when I see that, I'm like, oh, that's right. Okay, here's a well. Let's leave tobacco. Here's a river. Let's say a prayer. So it just kind of helps make these things go from practice to embodiment, which is how we bring the process of remembrance and awakening into our body, to where your spiritual life and practice is not separate from you. It is not something you do when you meditate. It is just the natural emanation of who you are. And that force becomes stronger and stronger. Your awareness continues to expand, and you just start becoming more one with life around you. So here we go. Taylor signing off from the hill of Tara in beautiful Ireland. See you later. Peace.